How's it going, everybody? My name is October, and welcome back to another Deadlock video. So I haven't uploaded in a long time, and I thought it would be pretty easy for me to come back with something that's pretty easy to make, a tier list video. But as you can see, we're not ranking characters today. Today I'm actually ranking all of the items in the game, specifically for Vindicta. So if you've ever been interested in trying to learn the character, this can be a good baseline for you to look at and get a general idea of kind of what items the character likes to use, what items the character could use but maybe aren't as efficient. And I'll give you my reasons why for each of the items that are worth having a reason about. Now, I would like to make a disclaimer, I am not the best Vindicta player. I do have over 350 games on her, but I am currently in Emissary 2, post rank update, which is about the level of like mid, like Phantom 2 to Phantom 4, 5 range, something like that, I don't know. Equivalent before the ranked update. So I'm not perfect. I am not trying to tell you that this is the objective truth on all of these items. I would like you to compare this with what other people say. I also do not have a ton of experience on support Vindicta, which is like the meta comp way to play her, because in ranked, it's just a lot more fun to play carry Vindicta in solo queue. So I would recommend looking at other people's guides on items and looking at public builds. I will post a couple in the comments that I really like, and you can take a look at those and compare those to what I've said here, and you'll probably see that a lot of them agree with some of the things that I'm saying. Also, if there are any of you Vindicta players who are higher ranked than me, who have more experience, and you disagree with the placement of an item, please let me know why. You know, I could pin the comment, we can have a discussion. I would love to hear what all of you have to say. Things you think I got right, things you think I got wrong, things you think I missed. So I guess I should describe what these tiers are. So they're pretty self-explanatory, but I'll move I don't know down below bad. Oh, it's meant to be at the bottom. Okay. My tiers have been all over the place. This is the final order of the tiers, okay? So the tiers are great for carry, which is great for carry Vindicta, as you could probably guess, which is more weapon-oriented. Great in general, which I think are items that are just like basically good no matter what version of Vindicta you're playing. Great for support, which are items that are going to be better on support, which is Spirit Vindicta. Counterbuys, because duh. Inefficient but fine are items that I think you could use, but you're giving up something by skipping out on other items and buying the ones in this tier instead. Bad are items I would never buy on the character, ever. Not even to be funny. And I don't know is exactly that. I don't know. There's probably going to be a couple of items in there, but we'll see when we get there. All right. So without further ado, let's start this list. Starting with close quarters. This item, as you can probably guess by the fact that Vindicta is a squishy sniper with 2 stamina, is a bad item. You do not want to be in close proximity, and the melee resist does not help you. If someone gets up on you and starts meleeing you, you're gonna die. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend any more time with that. Extended magazine, I think, is great for carry. I actually don't know if support Vindicta wants to buy extended magazine, but extended magazine is great for Vindicta. She starts out with, I believe, 17 bullets, something like that, 19 bullets. And especially later in the game, you're going to be wanting more bullets while you're up in flight, so you're not reloading all the time. And the bonus weapon damage is nice as well. Headshot booster. I think this item is inefficient, but fine. Headshot booster is not an item I typically associate with characters like Vindicta, which have relatively slow bullet velocity and don't fire in bursts. I typically think of Headshot Booster as a burst gun item, like Paradox and Lash use it. I just don't think that Vindicta gets as much value from it, although there's a similar item that I do think she gets a lot of value from later in the list. The bonus health is nice, but like, I think that early on, you're really going to be struggling to hit a lot of headshots unless you are just like a top 50 Vindicta player in the world, because her bullet velocity is so slow. Plus, it's got kind of an awkward, it builds into kind of an awkward item for wanting to hit your gun spike. So yeah, we're just gonna leave it inefficient, but fine. High velocity rounds is great in general. I mean, I would buy this item on basically any version of Vindicta that I played because her bullet velocity is relatively slow, and high velocity rounds gives you 80% extra bullet velocity, gives you some bonus weapon damage, builds into a ton of items that are useful to Vindicta. High velocity rounds, I think it's great in general. Monster rounds, I'm gonna call monster rounds a counterbuy. Someone might disagree with this, but the reason why... You know what? No, actually, we're gonna move it into inefficient but fine. The reason why monster rounds is an inefficient but fine for me is that Vindicta is not a farming character. For those of you who haven't played her, and if you haven't figured that out yet, now you know. She's not a farming character. She does not farm very well. She does not have good wave clear. She doesn't farm camps very well. I would consider monster rounds like a, oh, I need this for like rim or something in lane kind of items. But even then, I would probably just skip out on it because I think you've got better options for what it does for you. For what monster rounds does specifically for her. And plus, you're never going to build it into cultist sacrifice, which is what it does build into. I don't think it's super great for her. But an item that I do think is great for her is rapid rounds. Vindicta's fire rate is pretty low to start out. The 9% fire rate bonus is super great, and it builds into several useful items for her. Well, maybe specifically more carry, but it builds into an item that I would consider core to her base kit, regardless of what you're using. Super, super good item. Super, super good item. Restorative Shot, this is a counter-buy item. I would not really consider buying this in every single game. I've tried it back when I wasn't as good at the character and I was still trying to like learn how to make builds and stuff like that. Restorative Shot is one of those items that it's really just there if you want a little tiny bit of extra weapon damage and a little bit of help sustaining yourself in lane. I mean, it doesn't build into anything because it doesn't need to, but I would not buy this on most versions of the build. In fact, I would consider Restorative Shot actually a bit of a bad counterbuy. If you're going to counterbuy something that gives you sustain, there are green options that I think are better. So yeah, that is all of the 800 weapon items. Now on to the vitality items. You'll notice that Grit is missing here. I will just have to put that one in post. This was made before Grit was released, but Indomitable is on here. So we have that, just not Grit. Extra health. I mean, this is a counter-buy item. Extra health is one of those items that I don't really buy it on Vindicta a lot, but I think you could, because she does have like bottom 5 HP per boon growth in the entire game. I still think I would prefer the next item on the list more, which is extra regen. If you're in lane, I think buying extra regen is better than extra health on Vindicta, because like I said, your health is pretty low anyways. Getting an extra 200 health or whatever, I just don't think it's going to help you that much if you're playing against very bursty lanes. The extra regen for while you're hiding would be better for that, I think. Extra stamina, I think is inefficient, but fine. Now, you might be saying, but October, Vindicta only has 2 stamina. Yes, she does only have 2 stamina, but her dashes are pretty terrible in general. And dashing in flight is not something I consider super good. I think that it's better to have just like normal base move speed while in flight. And extra stamina while you're dashing in flight, while it does help you do things like a scroll wheel down dash while you're in flight, I don't think that's worth the trade-off of another item that you could just buy instead for the same price. Yeah, it's inefficient, but fine. Also, the items it builds into are not super useful on Vindicta, as we'll get to later. Next is Healing Right. This is also a counter-buy. Situationally, you would buy this instead of extra regen, depending on what kind of lane you're playing in, or if you're trying to run support, you're trying to support your lane duo or something like that. I think this is a fine item. But would not buy this in every game, obviously. That's why it's in the counter-buy section. Melee lifesteal is bad. You do not want to be in melee with Vindicta. Not even for fun, haha. I guess you could have for fun, haha, but you're not going to have a good time because you're going to die most of the time. Rebuttal? I mean, it is a counter-buy, but I just think you don't want to be in melee with Vindicta ever. There are other characters that benefit a lot from Rebuttal. Vindicta, if you're up in their face constantly trying to have melee battles, you're playing the character in the wrong way, IMO. So I'm considering it a bad item, a waste of money. Sprint Boots, on the other hand, is just great in general. It builds into multiple items that are very useful on the character. The out-of-combat regen is nice, and then like I said, I personally prefer extra base movement speed over extra dashes on Vindicta. Because I think being able to move around in flight faster while still being able to shoot and do everything casting your spells is more important than having dashes. Extra charge is another item that's just great in general. Obviously, her ultimate is very powerful in laning phase and in the mid game. And even in the late game, it is pretty good as a marking tool. Is extra charge necessary for the character? No, but I would buy it. I think you've got to be pretty freaking good at the character to not justify buying that over another item where it's too inefficient. But the bonus spirit power you get on the charges is just too good in the early game, man, to pass up, I think. Extra spirit is great in general. I would probably buy this. I would buy this item on both versions of the character that you're playing, just because it builds into several items that are super helpful for her. I don't really think there's much else to say, man. Like, having the extra spirit power is nice, and then, like I said, it builds into good stuff. Golden Goose Egg, actually don't know. I don't know if Support Vindicta would ever want to run this item. My gut tells me bad, but it might just be an I don't know. But I'm going to put it in bad, because I would never opt to run this item, even in bad laning situations. Like I said, when I mentioned extra spirit and extra charge, Vindicta is a pretty strong laning character in the game. And so if you're sacrificing your early game damage for Golden Goose Egg, like, what are you going to be spending that on, man? You need to be applying pressure early and as often as possible. Mystic Burst, great in general, man. If you're not doing the tier 2 stake combo with Mystic Burst, well, really just tier 1 stake if you want to get the extra damage, but getting the cooldown reduction in lane, tier 2 stake combo with Crow, you're missing out, man. It does like 300 damage or something like that. I think it's more like 280, but it does a lot of damage in a burst combo. And then stake is obviously a super strong cooldown in laning phase. You can combo it with basically anything your lane duos would want to do. So yeah, if you haven't been trying it, do it. It is worth your while. And buying Mystic Burst also helps you not feel the need to rush your tier 2 snipe in the early game, and instead focus on building other things, which I think is very nice and helpful. Mystic Expansion is not what I consider inefficient, but fine. So the reason why is you might be thinking, well, if you're wanting to play Support Vindicta, wouldn't you be wanting things like, I don't know, wouldn't you be wanting things like your stake to be wider, and then other items that we'll get to later to be wider, all of your items to have longer ranges? Yes, but for those of you that don't know, when Vindicta's in flight, she actually gets an increased range on her items. So you wouldn't be needing this for items, you would specifically be buying it for your abilities. And the only ability that she has that would benefit from this is stake. Now, having extra range on stake is nice, yes, but is it worth spending that money on it when you can spend it on other items instead? I personally think not. Mystic Regeneration is bad on the character. Mystic Regeneration is one of those items that's only like okay on 1 or 2 characters in general. And Vindicta is not one of them. She doesn't really have items that hit multiple, or she doesn't really have abilities that are constantly hitting multiple targets. They've all got relatively long cooldowns. So the uptime on the effects of this item are just not going to be worthwhile for you. Rusted Barrel. This is great for support. I think that Rusted Barrel is an item that, well, actually, maybe it's just a counter buy. We're gonna put it in great for support. This is also a counter buy, though. You could buy it on carry Vindicta, but I think if you're spending money on Rusted Barrel, you're not working towards doing more damage on carry Vindicta. Whereas if you're on support Vindicta, having this item is just nice because, like I said, in flight, your range is larger, and playing against high fire rate characters in lane can be obnoxious when you're a squishy character like Vindicta. It's also just very nice to help out your lane duo. And Rusted Barrel is a bit of a slept-on item, in my opinion. Builds in, part of the reason why is probably because it builds into Disarming Hex, which I wouldn't consider one of the strongest 3200 counter items or spirit counter items in general. But yeah, we're going to put it in great for support for that reason. Spirit Strike is bad. You don't want to be in melee range. That's enough said. Active Reload is inefficient, but fine. I personally don't think that the little lifesteal you're getting from your gun with Active Reload is worthwhile. It's also sort of a weird item because it's a 1600 item, and I think you'd rather just build other 1600 items on Vindicta. The 20% max ammo boost is nice, but you can get that on other items in this same tier that I think are better. So I just don't think it's worth purchasing, but it's not like terrible. That's why it's in the inefficient but fine tier. Backstabber is bad. You do not want to be in close proximity with Vindicta. Yeah, you're not really wanting to be at close range. I just realized this item's called Stalker, isn't it? Now, why is it still listed as Backstabber on here? When was it changed? Oh, I don't know why that's here, but sorry about that. This is actually the Stalker item, not Backstabber. I mean, you're going to be in the air most of the time, too. Like, you're gaining basically no benefit from this item when using it. Fleetfoot, I think it's good. I think it's a counterbuy item. I wouldn't buy this in every game, but Fleetfoot is just a good item in general. 1600, being able to reduce move speed penalties, and having that extra speed in flight is nice to help you with pursuit of targets and stuff like that. Overall, pretty good item for what you're investing in. It's not the most efficient, that's why I'm considering it a counterbuy if your opponents are building a lot of slow, but yeah. Intensifying magazine, I think, is bad. This to me is an item that you buy for high magazine characters, like high ammo count characters. And Vindicta is not one of those, even with items. Like, you have to build a lot to get to really high ammo counts. I just think intensifying magazine does not play into Vindicta's strengths. Same with kinetic dash. So kinetic dash doesn't seem like it would be horrible on Vindicta, especially if you're building extra stamina. But kinetic dash is just, think of it like this, right? Vindicta really needs to be using her stamina to escape. She's not a character that is using her stamina to engage. And kinetic dash is requiring you to use your stamina to engage or to chase people. Vindicta doesn't want to be chasing people on the ground with stamina, so I wouldn't consider it the greatest of items on her. And like I said, I just personally prefer base move speed over stamina. So yeah. Long range is great for carry Vindicta. I don't think you would buy long range or sharpshooter on support. I'm not 100% sure though, but long range is just a good item. I mean, she's a sniper character, got a pretty decent fall off range, and being able to take better advantage of that longer fall off range is nice. Spirit Shredder bullets I consider inefficient, but fine. I mean, you do spirit damage when you're in flight, and you have other spirit-based abilities like your snipe and your crow and your stake. You know, I mean, most people's spells are spirit, but you get what I'm saying. I just consider it a little inefficient. It's not terrible, but I don't think that you need to be... You're not the kind of character that has these gigantic spirit bursts that really benefit from this. Like, I think of like a Mina when I think of a character that really uses Spirit Shredder bullets well. It's not bad. I mean, you give your allies Spirit Lifesteal against the targets you're shooting too, which could be useful. But I just consider it a little inefficient because I think there are other items you would rather buy in this category. Slowing bullets. I mean, I think I'm going to consider it inefficient, but fine as well. It's kind of falls into counter buy as well, but I think there's a better slowing item that you can buy as a counter buy on Vindicta particularly. But slowing bullets is fine. You're never going to take advantage of what it builds into though. The slowing is nice, but this item has been nerfed a couple of times. And just in general, I think that there's another, like I mentioned earlier, there's another item that is better to use on the character if you want slowing. So yeah, that's why it lands it in there. Recharging Rush is interesting because I think this item is an item that you think, okay, yeah, this is perfect for Vindicta. You do a lot of gun damage when you would buy this item, and it gives you another snipe charge. I actually think it's inefficient, but fine. But it would be one of the higher tier inefficient but fine items. You've already got 4 charges of your snipe if you're building rapid recharge. Getting a 5th, like, is nice, but I think there are other items you could be building towards instead. You get 20% max ammo and a little bit of extra weapon damage when you use it, but it's not bad. It's really not bad, but it's just a little inefficient compared to other items, in my personal opinion. Opening rounds, I think is great on Vindicta in general. You do more damage to targets above 50% health. It gives you extra spirit power, and it builds from high velocity rounds. So you're getting people below 50% health with opening rounds, doing bonus damage to them above 50%, getting them below 50% to where they're within your snipe range. It just synergizes super well with her kit, and opening rounds is one of those items that is just pretty good. I mean, it's been nerfed a couple of times because of how good it was. You had basically every character building opening rounds, but I still think it's a decent item on her. Yeah, let's move on. Mystic Shot. I don't know, man. Is this item great on support? Like, are they using Mystic Shot and Alchemical Fire to hit their gun spike? Maybe. I mean, you're building more spirit on Spirit Vindicta. We'll put it in great for support. I think it's a fine item. It's been nerfed, but if you're building more spirit, it's better. Like on the carry Vindicta build that I run, you basically build your 4.8k spirit for most of the game and don't increase it until the mid-late game. So it wouldn't be as good for you there. But I think on support Vindicta, you're building a lot of spirit. And if you want to hit your gun spike with an item, having an item that does spirit damage on a bullet every so often is pretty nice. Also, you can't forget the fact that it gives you a little bit of extra bonus spirit power too. So yeah. Next up is melee charge. This item is bad, as you can imagine, for all of the reasons I've mentioned with every other melee item. Don't want to be in melee range. Duh, this is not the kind of item built for her. Split shot is an item that's good on like 3 characters in Deadlock in general and should probably be removed because it seems to just create buggy issues every time it's used. I would never buy this item on Vindicta, even though it would be kind of funny to have a split shot hunting rifle. Like a split shot bolt action rifle sort of deal. Swift Striker, I think, is great in general. This item, like I said, Vindicta's fire rate is not great to start. Swift Striker is the best bang for your buck in terms of fire rate increasing items. Every part of Swift Striker benefits Vindicta in a way that an item like Burst Fire does not. The plus 20% fire rate is huge for her. You get a little bit of sprint speed as well. Very, very nice. Builds out of rapid rounds, so you've already got that naturally progressing. Next, we've got Great for Carry. We've got Titanic Magazine and Great for Carry. I mean, it just builds off of Extended Magazine. You get even more ammo, even more bonus weapon damage. What's not to like? Weakening Headshot is another item I would consider Great for Carry. Mainly because of what it builds into. I would not buy Weakening Headshot like naturally throughout the mid game, but as a late game item when you're upgrading it into the item it upgrades into, which we will get to later, the item is pretty freaking good. All right, now we're on to the 1.6k greens. Battle Vest, I think it's inefficient, but fine. I mean, it synergizes well with Vindicta's kit if you're running carry. I've personally never bought Battle Vest, though, because I just don't think that the bullet resist armor is something that you need on her. She's already so squishy, and she's not a character that's got a lot of health to, like, soak in stuff either, to constantly be in the range where she's getting the bonus bullet damage. And the out-of-combat regen is nice, but, like, this is more of like a farming character kind of item, in my humble opinion. Bullet Lifesteal is great for carry Vindicta. This builds into several items that are very useful for her that we will get to later. There's not much else to really say about that. Sustain items, you're going to need some sustain items. You need some greens on Vindicta, even if they have to be scant because of her sort of economy situation that she has to deal with. But yeah, Bullet Lifesteal is a great item. Debuff Reducer is a counterbuy. I don't really think there's much more to say here. You can buy it early, you can buy it late. It builds into an item that you basically have to buy in every game once you get above, like, Old Archon, which is now probably, like, Emissary. Once you get into Emissary, you're basically having to buy, like, Unstoppable every game if you're performing well. So, yeah, buy Debuff Reducer if you need it. Now, Enchanter's Emblem, I think, is a great counterbuy. Honestly, I would consider it great in general. Just because I think Vindicta more often wants your bigger issue early on is going to be Spirit Nuke anyways. Like, burst spirit ability is going to be your bigger issue early on, and Vindicta uses it a lot better. The bonus spirit power you get from being above 65% health, I think, works better with her than the gun damage, personally. Partially because I just think Enchanter's Emblem is a little bit better of an item for most characters. But yeah, if you need a early 1.6k sustained spirit item, I think Enchanter's Emblem is a good way to go. Enduring Speed is an item that I would consider great in general. I mean, like I said, having extra flight speed is huge on Vindicta. Like, base flight speed, not having to dash, is huge. Also, ground speed, it's huge on her. She is so slow. Her dashes are slow. It's just nice to be able to move a lot quicker with her and be active while you're doing so. Guarding Ward is great for support. I am now realizing that I never said anything about Grit. I mean, it'd be in here or in Counterbuys. But Guarding Ward is a great support item for all of the reasons I mentioned. While you're in flight, you get extra range on your items. And Guardian Ward is an item that you would only be ever buying on support Vindicta. IMO, I don't think you're buying Divine Barrier on carry most of the time outside of very, very niche situations. So, yeah. Great item for support specifically. Healbane is just great in general. As you can probably guess, Healbane is one of the best items in the game. Bonus spirit power, healing reduction, on spirit damage. Yeah, it's just huge, man. Huge, huge, huge item for Vindicta when playing into the right comps. But you don't have to necessarily counterbuy with it. If someone showed me a Vindicta build that had Healbane in every single game, I would not be mad. Same with Enchanter's Emblem. Whereas most of these other items, I consider them counterbuys depending on the situation. Healing booster, I think it's bad on Vindicta. You don't really do a lot of healing. You can buy Rescue Beam on support, but just in general, you're not going to be doing a lot of healing on the character. So I think the item is pretty bad. Reactive Barrier is a counterbuy, although I'd argue that it's really not that great on Vindicta, because if you're getting got by something that procs Reactive Barrier, you're probably just dead anyways because of how squishy Vindicta is. Like, Reactive Barrier can be the difference between living and dying a Bebop or Haze ambush on a lot of characters, but on Vindicta, you're probably just dead anyways, because you probably still only have like 1200 health and everybody else has 1700, 1600 health. So I wouldn't consider it an amazing counterbuy. I would honestly just try to positionally play around those abilities rather than buy Reactive Barrier, but sometimes you just need Reactive Barrier because there's so much of that stuff in your game. Restorative Locket is a great item. Is it great on Vindicta? I don't know, man. I'm putting in I don't know. Like I said, I don't use the stamina. I don't like the bonus stamina that you would get from this on Vindicta. I think it's a fantastic item on a lot of characters, but just on her with the way that she likes to play, I would say no. But I'm going to put in I don't know because I'm not 100% sure. You guys in the comments can let me know about that one. Return Fire is a counterbuy. I think Return Fire is better than like an item like Weapon Shielding, which we'll get to later, for specifically dealing with burst weapon damage early in the game, because you're also reflecting some spirit damage, and a lot of characters do hybrid damage anyways. Think Wraith does hybrid damage, stuff like that. Wouldn't buy it every game, but as a counterbuy, I think it's fine. Spirit Lifesteal, I think is great in general. If you showed me a build that had Spirit Lifesteal in it every single time, I would not bat an eye because I think the item is super good. It builds into multiple really great items for Vindicta. So yeah. Spirit Shielding, I think, is a counterbuy. If you're going to buy one of the shields, I think you would buy Spirit Shielding. You know, Burst Spirit early on in the game is what you would be more worried about. Although I still think that Vindicta would benefit more from having something like Guardian Ward if you're running support. Spirit Shielding is fine as an item, as a counterbuy, in the right situations. Nichely useful. Trophy Collector, I think is great in general. You can use this item. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it on Vindicta because I'm not super great at roaming, and you have to be really good at roaming on Vindicta to get the most out of Trophy Collector. I would say it's great for carry, but it's probably better on support, just because on support, like, you're sort of forced to be doing all of the roaming to help people out to get the most value out of your items, whereas on the carry, you can, like, hold down a lane for a little bit, and it's fine. And if you get behind on carry Vindicta, you don't want to be doing less damage to creeps. Whereas I think if you're on support Vindicta, you don't really care that much. So, but I am going to put it in great in general because it is good for both. It also gives you a little bit of out-of-combat regen, extra move speed, which is nice. Think of it and Enduring Speed as interchangeable. Enduring Speed is your consistent flat value that you're going to be getting every time you buy it. Trophy Collector, you can get more value off of it, or you can get less value depending on the kind of game you have. Weapon Shielding, I think, is inefficient, but fine, for the similar reason that Battle Vest is. I just don't think that, like, gun is that crazy. You're really not going to be dealing with a lot of high gun damage early in games. And if you're dealing with so much high gun damage that you're having to buy Weapon Shielding, I think you'd be better off saving for other items, personally, or buying Battle Vest. All right, now we're on to the Spirit 1.6k items. Arcane Surge, I think, is bad. Is it better than Kinetic Dash? Yes, you could Surge Flight with it, but still, then you're having to use 2 stamina to, like, start an engagement. And I think you want to save a lot of that stamina for if you have to dash while you're in flight, or if you're dashing to get out. Like I said, I also personally just prefer the base move speed over stamina, so don't really think there's much else to say about that. Bullet Resist Shredder is an interesting item for me. Bullet Resist Shredder is an interesting item for me because everything about this item says that it would be great on Vindicta, but I don't see it in a lot of builds that I run. I'm going to put it in inefficient but fine for that reason, and I think the reason why is that if you're running carry Vindicta, there's other items that you would want to buy instead, and you would be spending a lot of your budget on getting your gun damage higher and then investing in greens, because your Spirit 4.8k is kind of made out for you. Like, you're probably going to buy Extra Charge, Extra Spirit, Mystic Burst, Rapid Recharge, and then you've got your Spirit 4.8k for a long time. And Bullet Resist Shredder would just, while it does give you extra bullet damage, you'd just be adding more Spirit on top of that. On Spirit, maybe, and then I think on Spirit Vindicta, on Support Vindicta, there are other items you would just prefer to buy instead. But I think it is good, and I think it's fine, just a little inefficient. Cold Front is bad. You do not want to be within melee range with people or Cold Front range. If you could somehow cast it on like other people, maybe it'd be useful, but as it stands right now, that item is not good for Vindicta. The press cooldown, it's a little inefficient, but fine. I don't ever think that cooldown items are bad. I just think that on Vindicta, you're better off buying other items instead, and that's why it is in this category. Especially because if you think about it, right, like, you've got 4 snipes if you've got Rapid Recharge, or 3 if you don't. And all your other cooldowns, like Flight, if you're using all of your Flight, the cooldown is really only like 10 or 15 seconds after that. And then in the late game, you can have it literally be 0. But, like I said, cooldown items are never terrible. I just think that on Vindicta, they're a little inefficient. Duration Extender, I think, is great on support specifically. I would not buy this on carry Vindicta, but on support Vindicta, like, you want your stakes to last longer, you want your Guardian Ward to last longer, all of your debuff items you want to last longer, your Alk Fire, and you want to be in flight for longer as well, might as well, right? So you can get more value off of your items. But I just don't think it's as good on carry Vindicta because, like I said, you build gun damage more after your Spirit 4.8k. So yeah, better for support. Improved Spirit is great in general, as you could probably guess. I mean, even on like carry or support Vindicta, I would buy Improved Spirit, even if it is in the later game, because Extra Spirit builds into several other items that you might want to buy instead. I mean, come on. Extra Spirit power is never bad. It's very rarely bad on characters in this game. Mystic Slow is an item that I would consider a counter buy. I think it's pretty good. I wouldn't buy it every single game, but this is what I was talking about when I mentioned slowing bullets. I think Mystic Slow is a better option, because if you're running carry Vindicta, you're going to want to have Mystic Slow instead, so you're not having to buy slowing bullets, and you can bake this into your Spirit 4.8k instead. You know, maybe you could cut out Extra Spirit, sell Mystic Burst, have Rapid Recharge in this, and then you've got your Spirit 4.8k, or even keep Mystic Burst, not buy Extra Spirit, and Rapid Recharge, and just be a little bit over your Spirit 4.8k, and it's still fine. Also, you get a little bit of bonus move speed and a little bit of health, but yeah, I just consider this one better because with slowing bullets, you have to be constantly shooting them, whereas Mystic Slow, like Crow, you think it's going to be constantly ticking on them. While you're in flight, you're also doing spirit damage. So yeah, Mystic Slow is better in my opinion. Mystic Vulnerability, I think it's inefficient, but fine. I've seen some Vindictas run max spirit and go Mystic Vulnerability, escalating exposure. It synergizes fine with her kit. Crow, you know, in particular, synergizes okay with this, but an Alk Fire synergizes decently with it as well. But I would not consider buying this item over other items personally. I think it's just a little inefficient. So yeah. Quicksilver Reload is great in general. This item, when you put it on Crow, is amazing. It also builds into an amazing item. Super, super good. Reload your bullets, get you extra fire rate. You know, fire rate was something important I mentioned for carry as well. Yeah, super great item. Slowing Hex is a counter buy. There's not really much more to say about that. You just use that in certain matchups. Spirit Sap, I have no idea. This item is so niche, I feel like 3 characters use this item in the whole game, so I'm just gonna hold my hands up and say I don't know. Someone can let me know if this item is good or bad. Suppressor, on the other hand, I just don't think it's as good. I wouldn't say it's bad, but like, if you showed me a build that had Suppressor in it, it wouldn't be like, oh, this build's terrible, you're throwing. And it would be like, I would prefer other items instead. Alk Fire. This is great for support. Alk Fire is kind of what you center your support build around for the most part, right? Alk Fire, Divine Barrier, and then other ranged point and click items like slowing hex, disarming hex, and stuff like that. It's a big ol' area, and you can hope your carries melt people, plus you do bonus weapon damage against them too. You get the extra spirit damage on the burn on Alkfire, and while you're in flight, remember, it has a longer range when you throw it down. So super helpful. Ballistic enhancement, I don't know, dude. Do I use ballistic enhancement? Is this an item that I would ever buy? I've seen people use it. Like, I guess you would use it on stake if you wanted to, but I personally think it's probably inefficient, but fine. Similar to Mystic Expansion, like, you're building naturally into this, you're getting more gun damage if you're doing carry stuff, but I just personally don't like it as much. Berserker, I think this is bad on Vindicta. You don't want to be taking constant ticks of damage on the character because she is so squishy. So you're not going to be benefiting as much from this. This is more of a tanky character item. Blood Tribute, though, is great for carry. This item is very slept on. I'm not very good at using it, but I actually feel like Blood Tribute is always an item that's slept on because people like me are lazy and we don't like having to constantly toggle on and off an active item. But you get bonus fire rate, you get some debuff resist while you're using it, and I believe a little bit of move speed as well. Yeah, plus it has some naturally baked in debuff resist and spirit resist, as well as a little bit of regen. Like, it's a good item, value for money, but like, you have to constantly toggle it on and off. It's one of those items that higher elo Vindicta players will be using more than lower elo, so don't knock yourself if you're not using it a lot in your games. Burst Fire, I think, is great for carry. The reason it's not great in general when Swift Striker is that Burst Fire is a lot more money than Swift Striker is. I mean, it's literally double the price. You also don't benefit from every part of the item like you do from Swift Striker, but it's still good. You can still use it and Swift Striker together for a pretty deadly gun combo if you're getting good weapon stacks. But like I said, you're not using the slide distance bonus, which is something that's very nice about the item. It's still great. I just think that great in general, Swift Striker is better because you get more bang for your buck. You use all parts of the item, whereas with this, you're not really using the slide distance because you're not on the ground. Cultist Sacrifice, I think, is bad. I would never buy Cultist Sacrifice. Vindicta is not a farming character. Monster Rounds at least has, like, counterbuy potential in lane, whereas I think that Cultist Sacrifice, you're just wasting money at that point on other weapon items you could be buying. Escalating Resilience is bad as well. She's not really the kind of character that wants to be building up bullet resist, just to be honest with you, and she does not have a super high fire rate or ammo count, and also it's a little bit hard to be accurate with her sometimes depending on the situation. So yeah, Escalating Resilience is not as good on her. Express Shot as well. I just think that of the upgrades that you get from high velocity rounds, I think Express Shot and then an item we'll get to later are probably the worst ones for her. There's no real reason to have a shot shoot twice on the character. Even if you're running Mystic Shot on support Vindicta, like, you just want to buy other support items instead. So yeah, Headhunter I think is inefficient but fine. I personally wouldn't use this item, but I can understand that if you're an aim god, maybe you do like this item. You get a little bit of bonus weapon damage, you get a little bit of a heal, extra move speed. Like, this is better in my opinion than Headshot Booster is for Vindicta, but I still think that there are other items that are better bang for your buck. You're not going to be getting as much value off of this just because she's a little bit harder to get constant headshots with, in my humble, bad, lower elo opinion. Heroic Aura is a counterbuy item. I think this item would work well on support Vindicta. It works well on Vindicta in general, but I would not buy this item every game. It's one of those items that it's kind of occupies a weird spot where, like, is bullet resist really what you need most of the time? Not really. So I think that the item is just kind of like, currently right now occupies like a niche counterbuy thing as opposed to like being something, oh, I'm going to buy Heroic Aura every game. Yeah, Hollow Point I think is bad. I just don't think that this is the kind of item, like, you're not sustaining like a character like Warden is or Venator is. I don't think that you want to be running an item that requires you to be above 65% health on Vindicta, especially for this price. And while, like, the bonus health and out of combat region is nice, like, it's just better on other characters than it is on Vindicta. Hunter's Aura, you don't want to be close to people. Not good on Vindicta, in my opinion. Point Blank, you don't want to be close to people. Not good on Vindicta, in my opinion. Shadow Weave, don't think this item is very good. Bad. Sharpshooter is great in general, I believe. This item is freaking awesome, dude. Maybe we put it up here. I think we're going to put it in great for carry instead. Sharpshooter is awesome. It's better long range. There's not really much else to say. And while it does give you a slight negative move speed penalty, the move speed penalty was actually reduced several months ago in a patch that has made the item better for her. Spirit Rend is going in the same tier as Spirit Shredder Bullets because it is just Spirit Shredder Bullets but more, and I think it's inefficient but fine. Decent value for money, but just doesn't do it for me. Tesla Bullets, I mean, inefficient but fine, I guess. Toxic Bullets, same thing. Like, these items are inefficient, but they're fine. Could I see a situation where you would want to run Tesla or Toxic Bullets on Vindicta? Maybe, but I would not buy it in 95% of the games that I play. Weighted shots is bad. The debuff resist is nice. The move speed penalty is not nice for her. And I just think that you've got better items you can buy for the price. Anyways. Bullet resilience, I consider this item bad. If you're going to buy a 3200 gun resisting item, you're not going to buy bullet resilience because you're just going to die to bullet damage on Vindicta. You're not tanky enough to warrant buying a constant bullet resistance over buying metal skin, which we'll get to later. So yeah, not much more to say. Counterspell is great in general. I would buy this in every game pretty much. Dispel Magic is great in general. Pick one of the two, buy them in every game. I wouldn't consider these counter buys because you have to buy them in every game regardless. Great for helping you fill out your green spike. Fortitude, I think, is inefficient, but fine. Extra health is one of those items that I would consider a counter buy, but Fortitude, sustaining on the map as Vindicta is nice, but, you know, she doesn't have a lot of health. You don't get a ton of extra health from Fortitude relative to what the item costs. I just think you'd prefer to buy other items with your economy, and Vindicta's economy is pretty stringent for the most part. Fury Trance, I think is bad. Like, there's one instance that I could see you using Fury Trance, and that is specifically for, like, Mina, but you're still probably going to die anyways. You're better off taking your chances with Counterspell, in my opinion. Healing Nova, I don't know what to do with this. We'll put it in inefficient but fine. I think Healing Nova is just a little bit worse of a healing item compared to an item we'll get to in a minute. Life Strike is bad. It's not a very good item in general, and then also you don't want to be in melee range. Majestic Leap is bad because you have flight. There's no reason for you to have Majestic Leap as well unless you're just trying to be a funny little barefooted ghost lady. Metal Skin is a counter buy. The quintessential gun resist counter buy, obviously. With Vindicta, you need this to survive those burst gun damage ambushes that you might be taking. And in certain games, this will save your life many times over. Rescue Beam, this is great for support. Rescue Beam is one of the best support items in the game in general. And obviously you get the bonus range 1 flight. Super good on Vindicta. Spirit Resilience is a counter buy. You might actually buy Spirit Resilience. The Spirit Resist is super, super helpful, and Spirit Resist is more of what you're going to need in the early mid game. By the time you get to the late game, you're just dying to stuff anyway, so you're not really buying this, but yeah. Stamina Mastery is inefficient but fine, I think. Same with extra stamina. Like, at least you're getting more stamina, you're getting extra jumps in air and stuff like that. I just don't think Vindicta takes the most advantage of it, and you're better off spending money on other items. I don't know about Veil Walker. I know it gives you a lot of good effects. Maybe it's a decent way to sustain on the map on Vindicta. I personally just don't know, though. Like, you get the bonus sprint speed, you get extra spirit power. Walking through a Veil gives you all the effects that Veil Walker gives you. It would probably be good on support, but I just don't know for sure, so I'm going to leave it here. And Warpstone is a counter buy. Decay. I still don't even really know what this item does. Like, I know it does tick damage, but I only ever see it used on, like, a couple of characters like Shiv. I've seen Infernus use Decay as well. I just don't think it's, like, I don't think it's good on Vindicta. Even as a counter buy, I wouldn't really buy this most of the time. Disarming Hex, on the other hand, is a great counter buy, but I'm going to specifically put it in for support. I don't think you want to be spending this much money on Disarming Hex on carry Vindicta. I think it is better on support because, you know, obviously you're running a support character. You want to buy all the debuff items. Greater Expansion is inefficient but fine for the same reasons I've mentioned with these two. So we're going to move on from that. It just does all that but more. Knockdown is a counter buy. I would never buy this in a normal game of Deadlock on carry Vindicta, but on support Vindicta, it could be very useful. And also, if you're just trying to make people's days bad, it could be useful. Radiant Regeneration is bad. It's just more of Mystic Regeneration. And Mystic Regeneration is not good on Vindicta. Spirit Duration is great for support. Like I said, all of your items, you want them to last longer. You want your Stake to last longer, Elk Fire to last longer, Flight to last longer. It's nice. Very, very nice, because you're not going to be securing kills like you would be on the carry Vindicta. Very nice. Spirit cooldown, inefficient but fine. Cooldown items, never terrible, but a little bit inefficient on the character. Spirit Snatch is bad. You don't want to be in melee. Silence Wave is a counter buy, obviously. Rapid Recharge, great in general. We're finally back into this tier. Rapid Recharge got buffed, like not too long ago. I can't actually remember. And yeah, it makes the item even better for her. And having 4 shots of snipe, the extra bonus spirit power, it slots really nicely into your 4.8k. Like, very efficient buy on Vindicta, obviously. Surge of Power, I think, is great in general, but I'm gonna put it on carry, because I don't think you want to necessarily be building damage on support Vindicta. And if you're gonna build damage, you'll build another spirit item that increases fire rate and stuff like that. This item is great on Crow, and I think that is a carry item more so than a support item. Tank Buster is inefficient but fine for me. If you're slot locked, it's a decent buy. Actually, I'll put it in okay for support. If you're slot locked, it's a decent buy. I personally just wouldn't buy it in like a game of carry Vindicta really ever. Mystic Burst is one of the items that I sell later in the game on carry Vindicta, but on support Vindicta, if you're gonna keep Mystic Burst, you might as well upgrade it to Tank Buster if you've got the Econ. So Torrent Pulse is bad. Don't want to be around a lot of people. Armor Piercing Rounds, I think, is bad. I think the item just isn't super great. It's very nichely useful, very expensive. Yeah, I don't really think there's much more to say about that. Capacitor is bad. You're pretty far away from your targets most of the time on Vindicta, and it's a skill shot, so you want to be closer when you're using it. I think Crippling Headshot, though, is great on carry Vindicta. Now, this is not an item that you're going to be building as, like, core to your kit. This is one of those items that you are going to buy, you're going to buy like super late game to help supplement the damage you're already doing and help deal with some of the massive sustain that people would be doing. So yeah, because by the point you're building this item in the late game on carry Vindicta, like, your bullet velocity is much higher, you're doing way more damage, and getting that extra stuff, the extra effects on top, the minus 16% bullet resist and spirit resist and the healing reduction are just super helpful, even if you only hit 1 or 2 headshots. So, yeah, great for carry Vindicta. Crushing Fist is bad. The item is not really that good in general. And obviously, Vindicta does not want to be in melee. Frenzy is bad. You don't want to be below 50% health. Glass Cannon is going in inefficient but fine. If you're low elo and you can't hit snipes, this item is probably really good when you get to like the 45th minute. But you can get Glass Cannon pretty easily in a game of Deadlock without sacrificing the money and the health that it would take away from you. I mean, the plus 80% weapon damage, you can get that pretty easily on just like an average game of Vindicta once you upgrade your snipes all the way. I mean, that's only 8 kills and assists with snipe. Like, that's really not a lot in a 35-minute game of Deadlock if you're playing well. It could be a way to help catch yourself up, but at that point, I just think you're wasting money. You could buy Glass Cannon if you're just like uber rich, but that's why it's in the inefficient but fine category. Lucky Shot is inefficient but fine. I mean, it just does extra bullet damage. I don't think the item is that crazy. Ricochet, I've seen this used in the carry build. I'm going to consider it a counter buy because I don't think you would want to buy it in all late game situations, but if you're like ultra late game, you could buy Ricochet, especially if you've got a ton of gun damage, like 12, 13, 14 stacks. Yeah, I think it could be a good item then, but I would not buy it in every game. Silencer is the same thing. It's a counter buy. There might be situations where you want to buy Silencer on carry Vindicta. Actually, I'll put it in great for carry. Put both of these items in great for carry. You might want to buy these items on carry Vindicta, but these are more counter buys, whereas Crippling Headshot, I think, is a lot more general. Spellslinger is great for carry. I mean, Spellslinger is just such a good item. You don't get maximum efficiency out of it like you would on a character like Warden or Geist, but you shoot pretty dang fast. You become a Gatling gun when you're using this item on Vindicta. So yeah, Spiritual Overflow is great in general. I mean, it builds naturally out of Spirit Lifesteal. It gives you extra fire rate, extra lifesteal against them, extra spirit power as well. Plus, you get a little bit of extra ability duration, which is nice for when you're in flight. Yeah, it's probably better for carry. Actually, we're just going to put it in great for carry. I think it's better for carry than it would be for support, but it's pretty good on carry. It synergizes super well with her kit. So yeah, Cheat Death I think is bad on Vindicta. You don't want to be spending 6,400 on this item on Vindicta in particular, because if you are getting killed, you're probably out of flight, and flight would be your only real chance of surviving anyways without peel. Cheat Death is not really an item that you buy on most characters anyways. Colossus is bad. You don't need the melee resist. The bullet and spirit resist is nice, but like, come on, we're not buying Colossus on this character. Divine Barrier is great for support. It is one of the best support items in the entire game, if not the best. And you're going to be wanting to build this on support Vindicta. Diviner's Kevlar is bad. I mean, your ultimate is a snipe. You're not transforming or whatever, which is typically what I think of when I think of characters that you build Diviner's Kevlar. You're wanting to get in there and fight people, whereas Vindicta, you're not getting in there and fighting people with your ultimate. So healing tempo, I think, is bad. You don't do a lot of healing, obviously. Don't think there's much more to say about that. Indomitable is inefficient, but fine. If Indomitable... I'll put it in Counterbuy, because there are certain games where you would want Indomitable if you can afford it. Characters that have, or games that have a lot of backline assassins like Calico, you know, Wraith if she's playing a really heavy backlining or trying to catch you off guard on side lanes. Haze, I know, has been nerfed with the Sleep Dagger build, but it would help with that. Moe and Krill, it helps you deal with that. But the biggest problem with Indomitable for me is that Indomitable doesn't stop Vindicta's biggest counter item, which is Phantom Strike. If it did, this item would be like a great item for her. But as it is right now, because it doesn't stop the drag down on Phantom Strike, I think it's kind of just okay. Infuser I consider bad. I just, like, Spirit Lifesteal is good, but I think there are other lifesteal items you would want to buy instead of Infuser, because you're not, I just don't think she does the kind of spirit damage that you need to get the most value out of this item. Inhibitor is a counterbuy. I mean, you might buy Inhibitor on this character to help reduce the outgoing damage on certain characters, the healing, all of that stuff. Juggernaut is inefficient, but fine. I typically stop at Enduring Speed. I wouldn't upgrade it to Juggernaut, but if you're just like super rich, you could. It'll help you stay alive a little bit better by lowering people's fire rate when they shoot at you. You get a little bit of extra movement speed as well. It's not super bad, but it's a little inefficient. You would be better spending your money on other things. I think Leech is pretty good in general. You could buy this item. I wouldn't bat an eye if you had it in your Vindicta build. I prefer another item personally for carry Vindicta, but in general, I think Leech is okay. Phantom Strike is Vindicta's biggest counter item in the game. It is bad on Vindicta, though, for obvious reasons, because you would have to get up in people's faces. Just not super great. I really wish Indomitable worked on the drag down, and I might talk about Phantom Strike in another video. I don't want the item to be removed. I understand why it's there, and Indomitable has other counterplay to, like, proc it, but the drag down is the one thing that I would consider buying Indomitable for to prevent this item, because it's very hard to, like, pop Unstoppable before or counterspell this item. You know, if you get hit by Phantom Strike on Vindicta, you lose move speed, you're disarmed, and you're dragged to the ground, which basically is a death sentence, because the characters that are doing it are going to be characters like Abrams, Silver, Moe and Krill, and on top of that, a lot of those characters, with the exception of Silver, are building range-expanding items. So, like, Abrams and Moe and Krill are building Greater Expansion, which increases the 25-meter range of Phantom Strike to 32 meters. I might put in a little visual indicator of, like, how long 32 meters is. Even if you're up in the air, they don't have to be that close to you to completely take you out of team fights. And if you're not getting Peel, which in most of your ranked games you are not, this item is a death sentence, a death knell for Vindicta. I'll talk about that more in another video, though. But obviously on Vindicta, it's bad because, you know, you don't want to get up in people's faces. But it would be funny to see a Phantom Strike using Vindicta. Plated Armor, I think, is bad. The item just does not get the kind of value you would want on Vindicta. You would build Plated Armor on a tanky frontliner character, not on Vindicta. Siphon Bullets, I think, is inefficient, but fine. It has its usefulness. No, I'm putting it in bad. It has its usefulness, but, like, this is another item that you're wanting to build on tanky characters instead. Characters like Warden would want to build Siphon Bullets sometimes. I just don't think you're getting the biggest bang for your buck, and it's an expensive item, too. Spellbreaker is a counterbuy. I mean, it's inefficient, but fine. If you have the money to swing it as well. Actually, we'll put it in inefficient, but fine. It's an expensive item, and it doesn't, like, super help you. Like, the item is kind of weak, just because of how many things can proc Spellbreaker, but, yeah. Unstoppable is obviously great in general. When you get to higher elo, you basically better be building this shit all the time if you're having a good game, because if you wait too long, they're going to have taken you out of 2 or 3 fights with Phantom Strike, and there's not going to be anything you can do, and then you're going to lose the game. Unstoppable, such a good item. Vampiric Burst is great for carry Vindicta specifically. The bullet component of it, where you get extra ammo when you pop it. The bullet lifesteal, you're going to be doing more bullet damage on Vindicta, on carry Vindicta. I just think it's great. And the fire rate is nice too. things that you would all take advantage of on carry that you might not take as much advantage of on support. Witchmail is bad. You just don't want to be around a lot of people, and you're not the kind of character that benefits from it. Arctic Blast is bad as well. Don't want to be close to people. Boundless Spirit is one of those items that is always just pretty good. And yeah, so you get plus 15% spirit power and plus 30 spirit power. Like, the item's just super good, man. But we all knew that. Cursed Relic is a counterbuy. I would actually put it on great for support, though. I would never buy Cursed Relic on carry because you want to be doing damage. And obviously, it's been changed to where it doesn't have a permanent damage penalty, but while active, it has a higher damage penalty, which carry Vindicta would not want to be having while using it. Echo Shard Stake is a little inefficient, but fine. You know, Echo Shard has been nerfed as well. I think this item is one of those items that probably won't be in Deadlock for the super long-term future because it's just kind of toxic. But on Vindicta, you would be using it on Echo Shard Stake, specifically on support, in my opinion. And I just don't think that's super good. I think you're better off spending your money on other things. I would rather buy compressed cooldown over Echo Shard for Stake, honestly, and then upgrade that later. Escalating Exposure, I think, is also inefficient, but fine. It gets good value, but you got to think, right? The two things you're proccing it with on Vindicta are going to be your flight, when you're shooting people with your gun while in flight, and on Crow. And I just think that there are other characters that benefit more from it than she does. So if Escalating Exposure did the amp spirit damage for your allies as well, it would be like an insane item for support Vindicta, but obviously it doesn't do that because that would make the item super, super broken. So yeah, it is going into inefficient, but fine. Ethereal Shift is a counterbuy item. You would not want to buy this in every game, but it's kind of risen up, had a meteoric rise to relevancy in the top echelons of the game. I did not write that sentence with AI, I promise. I just decided to pull out the thesaurus for no reason. Yeah, I mean, it helps you against characters like Mina. If you're getting dove by Spirit Assassins, it can give your team time to peel for you. You are going to be canceling Flight if you're using it, though, so that's something to consider. Refresher is bad on Vindicta. Your ultimate is not the kind of ultimate that you want to be buying Refresher for. Mystic Reverb, I think, is inefficient, but fine. In the right circumstances, I think the item can be decent, but in general, I think it is relatively weak on Vindicta. Mercurial Magnum, though, is great in general. Like, I would build this on carry Vindicta, and I would build this on support Vindicta, just because it's such a good item. Just better Quicksilver reload, fits nicely into the into spirit builds, into support builds, and helps you supplement your damage with carries as well. Yeah, it's just a great item on Vindicta. Magic Carpet is bad, I think, probably. I mean, I'm sure there's some psycho that uses Magic Carpet in Vindicta, but I would not be using it, and she's already really weak and flimsy. She doesn't need to be more floaty as well. Lightning Scroll is inefficient, but fine. This item, it's just, Lightning Scroll is just a good item, man, on a lot of characters, but it's one of those items that is good but inefficient on a lot of characters. And it had its sort of like, ooh, flavor of the month moment when people like Vegas were using it and showcasing it, and a lot of people were running Lightning Scroll Vindicta. I just think that you don't get the kind of value that other characters do on this item. And does it synergize well with the ultimate? Yes, but it also costs a lot and builds off of Mystic Slow, an item that you're probably not going to be buying on every game, anyways. If you were just like uber rich and wanted to play around with the item, I would not blame you, but in general, I think that Lightning Scroll is just too expensive for what you're getting from it. Focus Lens, I have no idea, man. I mean, this is better Spirit Sap, so I just don't know. I mean, the silence is nice, and maybe on support Vindicta you use it, but I don't know, so I'm not gonna pretend to know. Scourge is a great support item. Scourge is one of those items that's been nerfed a few times, but Deathy brought up in one of his, I can't remember if it was Bear Pit or in one of his videos, but like Scourge, the range on it actually uses your range, like the range scaling that you have. So if you think about that, if you're in flight with Vindicta, it's gonna be using your extended range on that. So super good to put on any sort of frontliner in general. Spirit Burn, I think, is inefficient but fine on Vindicta. You're only really gonna be proccing it on consecutive flight shots and snipes, but I just don't think that you're gonna be getting that kind of value from Spirit Burn on Vindicta. Decent anti-heal, but I think you've got other better anti-heal options on the character. Transcendent cooldown, inefficient but fine for the same reason as all the other cooldown items. And then Vortex Web, I don't know, maybe it's a counterbuy. We'll put it as counterbuy. I don't know. I actually would put it on support because you wouldn't buy Vortex Web on Carry Vindicta. I don't know for sure on that one though. You probably wouldn't ever upgrade into that unless you just felt like you needed to. Because, you know, in theory, it should combo well with Fire and Stake and all of that stuff, but it's a lot of money to set that combo up, especially for an ability that can be dispelled like Stake can. So, yeah. Well, I believe that is every item. These are the tiers. Yeah, this is as close as you're getting to be able to read all of it. So we'll go back to 100% and we will just scroll down so you can take a look at everything. And with that, I think that's going to do it for the video. Like I said, please let me know in the comments what you think I got wrong, what you think I got right. Better Vindicta players, especially, like, tell me what you disagree on. I want to be educated. If I got something horribly wrong, I would like to know. And if you have any further questions, you can ask in the comments for me to clarify. And I can delve deeper into my thoughts if you think it's necessary, but I think I did a pretty decent job at explaining how every item functions on the character. So these kind of items up here in these tiers are the items that you can be like, okay, these builds are pretty decent if they're using this combination of items for the most part, right? With a couple of exceptions, there's some down here that are fine. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. Have a good one. Peace.